Hi, and welcome for coming. I have classes I do monthly on card making, but there are certain restrictions that I have to live within. And one of those involves not being able to stamp for my students for their kits. So there are some cards that are difficult to do in the class environment. That's why when I came across this card, I just wanted to share it and I wanted to let people know my purpose is to share the joy of card making. And I just wanted you to know how you can make these lovely cards using the branching out set and the dies. Now, I will admit that the dies really attracted me because I love the graduated sizes of this dies here. But as I discovered, the stamp set had a lot to offer too. So this is what we're going to do. And what I'm going to try to do is to remember the little steps so that if you're a brand new stamper or just interested, I want you not to be skipped over as far as, oh, wait a minute, there's a step there. What happened? So that's what I'm trying to do today. Um, Truly, I was surprised at how much I loved working with the stamp set and I love the results. And I just want to share that with you. Now, there's some steps involved. With this, I use the dies to cut these layers, and I also use dies to cut the golden pine cones. So I'm going to show you about the dies to begin with, and then we'll get on with putting the card together. Now, I'm going to show you the levels. This is a stamping platform. This is the main one, the number one. And then I'm going to be cutting dies. So I'm going to be using plate number 2. And then I'm going to use a cutting plate. And then I'm going to add my die with the cardstock I'm going to cut out on that. And then I'm going to sandwich it with a second number 3 plate. Now, the machine I'm using is called a Stampin' Up. Um, whoop, let's get this there. A Stampin' Up die cut embossing machine. That's because this machine can be used not only for die cutting, which we're going to do right now, but also for embossing, dry embossing. Now, I've got the die, I've placed it on the cardstock. The cutting blade is face down. I'm going to feed it through the machine. Machine doesn't require electricity, it just requires your own physical muscle to pull it through. All right, I'm going to move this out of the way again. And there you have your die cut. All right, now the other item I'm going to die cut is the little pine cone. And what I'm doing, if you can see that, it's got a lot of detail in it. I've got a piece of scrap gold cardstock. Again, I'm going to sandwich it and I'm going to feed it through the machine, which I've moved to the side because it's so big and kind of clumsy. I just wanted you to see the machine to begin with. Same layers to create it. And now I'm going to take and this is a small die. And if you can see it, there's little holes on here. I'm using my take a pick tool to poke through those holes to kind of release the die cut from the die. And this one's pretty intricate, but there you have a golden pine cone. Now, I just wanted you to see those two parts. And before I put this all away, I wanted to tell you a little bit. This is a Stampin' Up! Take a Pick tool. It comes with a pointy tip, and it also comes with a spatula tip. It also has, on the other end, a tip that has a gummy substance inside, and that can be used to pick up small embellishments and stuff and help you place it on your card. I'm not going to be using that part today, but the tip comes in handy, as you saw, for like helping to poke a die cut out of the die. Now, the first step in creating this card, and I'm going to bring it back here so you can see, is we are going to be stamping a branch going across and then maybe a little one coming down. So I like to use scratch paper to catch my excess ink. Let's see. So I'm going to stick this over here. All right. And now I've got Early Espresso ink, which is a dark brown. I'm going to open that up for the branch. And this branch is pretty big. So sometimes when the stamps are really big, I just leave it on the block, the acrylic block, which allows you to see through it, which is a nice feature. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to look at where it's going and determine how I want my branch to flow. Let's see, I want it about like that. Okay. And then the scrap paper will pick up the extra ink. Now I'm going to ink it up again, just the tip here, because I'm going to come back and put a little extra branch over here. Okay. Now we have the foundation. The next step is to add the greenery. And they have, I'm going to close my stamp ink pad. It's always best to keep those closed because you can accidentally get into them and then you have a mess. Okay, I'm using a Pretty Peacock because for the card base, I'm using Pretty Peacock, and I'm also using Pretty Peacock paper. So the Pretty Peacock just kind of echoes the same color throughout. Now, in the set, they have clusters where you could do 3 at a time. I just found I like better control just having 1 at a time. So then I can go through here and I can add. You notice that I'm going off the card, but that's okay. That's what makes it fun. It makes it like the design is continuing. I'm just kind of lining it up with the branches. I want one going out this way. Okay, and another one coming down here. All right, and we need a little more greenery. Let's see. And maybe another one over here. All right, so now we have the branches and we have the greenery. And then we can take and put the pine cones I've previously cut out in places where I think I like them. Okay. And if I'm happy with that, or if I feel like I need more greenery, I can, make adjustments now. But I think we're pretty good here. So what I'm going to do, the next step, is I'm going to add the sentiment. Now, the sentiment I chose, the big advantage over 30 years ago was that we now have these acrylic blocks and you can see through them. And what's going to happen, you'll see that when I ink it up, the photopolymer stamps are clear and you can see the sentiment through the block. And so that helps me when I'm placing it, so I get it placed the way I want it to be. Now, I am ready to go ahead and add the pine cones. And to do that, I am going to use, these are little mini glue dots. I don't know how well you can see. You can just barely make them out there. And I'm just going to take and put a glue dot on each of the pine cones. The reason why I'm using a glue dot instead of just glue is because when the die cut, it actually pierced the paper. And if I put glue back there, there's a chance that the glue could seep through. So this way, the glue dots are sticky, but they're dry, and you don't have that problem. Okay. I think I like this one up here. No, I like it there. Okay. Whoop. My glue dot didn't stick. Let's try again. There we go. Okay. Now, all that remains, I'm using the liquid glue because I'm going to add this to the layering die cut, and I want to be able to, move it around a little bit so I could get it the way I want it to be. So I usually put the glue about 1/4 of an inch from the edge, again, to allow for the potential of seepage. And I put the piece on there, and I just look to see if it's all nice and even all around. And then a lot of times what I'll do, especially when I have thicker, I'll put a little weight. This is just simply a tile. While that's setting up a bit, I'm going to talk about options. Now, on this card, I was looking for paper that had the Pretty Peacock background on it. And this happened to be retired paper, and I liked it, really well. But I realized that not everybody would have access to the same papers that I have. So I did a lot of hunting around, and I came up with some. This is actually from the Floral Charm set of paper, and this goes very nicely. This is a retired piece that was one of the celebration papers, which was so pretty, and it looked really nice too. And this one came from Regal Winter, which was such gorgeous paper. but it's not current. I took a look and it is not available. It's been sold out. It's been uh, it was on the last chance list, and I guess our last chance is passed. So, I was looking at it and I thought, that'll make a really nice background. I just like it, especially if you're going for a more masculine look. I really liked it. Um, this one again works out well. I cut the layer piece. Okay, the card base is 5.5 by 8.5. Whoops, give me that here. 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4.25. And then the layer, the designer series paper, is cut. Depends on what you want to do, but this one is cut at 4 by 5.25. And then I'll be centering that on here. This paper was from the Floral Charms. I also took a look to see what else was available. What I do when I'm trying to match colors is I'll go and I will look through what's available. Season of Elegance, which is a beautiful paper with the gold accents on it, does have some pretty peacock in it. The Perennial Lavender also has pretty peacock in it. Thoughtful Journey, which is a 6x6 paper, I believe that's this one, has the pretty peacock in it. The Regal Distressed, which is still available, also has one page that's pretty peacock, and of course the Floral Charm that I just spoke of. Now, to put this on, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take the glue and I'm going to run it along the edges, about 1/4 inch in. I use, again, the liquid glue. You could use other, tape runner and other adhesive, but I use the liquid glue because sometimes I don't get the placement perfect the first go round, and so I stop and I study it and I move things around a little bit. It gives you a few minutes to adjust as you feel necessary, and then if you need to, you can put a little weight on it to let it set. While we're waiting on that, I'm going to work on the inside. Now, they didn't show you the inside of the card, but the inside is simple. I'm using a sentiment from the Branching Out set, and I'm using the Early Espresso ink again, and I'm going to stamp a couple of the pine needles in the corner and then add another golden pine cone. So I'm going to take this and I am going to ink up the branches, and then I'm just going to add it to the corner. I think I liked it down a little bit on one side and up a little higher on the other side. Okay, I'm going to close that for safety reasons. And then I'm going to get the glue dots out again. And I'm going to be adding a glue dot to the back of the pine cone, which I will be placing in the corner. I want to make sure it fits real. Oop, there. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use another tool. Now, this is called a positioning tool. It was called Stamparatus, and I use it a lot. Okay. One of the reasons now, especially for like the red rubber stamps, when you can't see through it, it helps you get the positioning just right so that it's not crooked. And the grid paper that I use, I stamp it there and it helps me see, oh yeah, that's straight. All right, so I use the Stamparatus, which is one of my favorite tools, but unfortunately Stampin' Up isn't carrying it anymore because there were some legal issues regarding the creator of the Misty, who is claiming that we copied. And there are a lot of people who made positioning tools out there, and she was going after everyone because she felt like hers was the first. I'm sad because I think this is a great tool. From what I've seen of the Misty, you can't remove the doors like you can with this. And that's what I do is I'll take the drawer off and I can flip it over and do my stamping. Or if I want to move this, down a little, I can move it down. It just, if you're doing a series of stamping, I just really, really like this tool. I think it was great. I hope that they bring it back. Time will tell. But at any rate, they do have positioning tools out there. I think generally the Misty's pretty good. I haven't heard any complaints about it. The I'm going to caution you. The one from Ranger I've heard people say that it's not stamping evenly, which is a concern. I've heard it more than once, so that's why I'm passing on the concern to you. Now here, I took and I stamped the image. It came out perfectly the first time. If I felt it was too light, it's in position and I could restamp it and get it right and get it darker right where it was. So that is one of the big benefits of a positioning tool, because in the past, when I was doing this 30 years ago, if it didn't come out right the first time, the chances of me being able to line it up and redo it are almost nil. So when I saw, that's what actually, this is the tool that actually brought me to Stampin' Up, is because I knew from my past experience what a big bonus that tool is. So we have our inside piece already. I'm going to close my stamp pad, which is a good practice for everyone to be in. Not only does it not let your stamp pad dry out quickly, it also prevents accidents that somebody who is a distracted crafter can easily do when you're busy concentrating on what you're doing. You're not always looking around you for the hazards, and so I just put the hazards away while I can. Okay, here we have the inside panel to go in. I'm just going to feed that in here. Again, I use the liquid glue because I don't always get it positioned exactly right the first time. And it gives me a few seconds to line it up. And now we are ready to put this on the front of the card. You have a choice. Now for the others, I just laid it flat, but I wanted to show you another tool that is handy. These are called dimensionals. They come in the large size and also a small size, if you can see the difference, because sometimes what you're trying to prop up isn't very big, so you want it to be able to fit to support the stamped image that you're putting on your card. Sometimes you're stamping it or taking it from paper, and then what you're going to do is you're going to take the protective coating, the backing off. And you're going to place it on your card. Now, when I do this, you have a couple of options. You can eyeball it and place it down just gently and hope that it's right. It holds well enough. Okay, I see it's a little bit crooked. So I could pick it up again if you do it quickly and straighten it out a little bit. The other option is I use a reverse tweezers. Stampin' Up! Has a heat embossing kit, which includes reverse tweezers, because when you're heat embossing, you don't want to be holding it and burn your fingers. It also includes a embossing buddy, which is a powdery packet that you put over your card to prevent the embossing powder from sticking to the wrong part. It includes a brush. It includes a tray that has a funnel at the end so that you can put your embossing powder back in the jar. I've loved the heat embossing. I didn't use it on this card, but I hope to show in other little tutorials how to do it. So anyway, there you have the card. Hello. Whoops, let's get down here. It just works out so well. I hope you enjoyed this little video. If you have questions, you can contact me and let me know. I'll try to get back to you and answer. I hope that you have a wonderful season, and I hope that my tutorial has gotten you a step ahead towards your Christmas celebration. Thank you for joining me today, and have a wonderful week.